Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. Let's have a look at what is making the headlines in the newspapers and shaping up the country, and especially when it comes to matters politics. This is the Star. The headline: campaign cash fight disrupts Kenya Kwanza. Says that some affiliates protest they are being misled by the big boys. This is an issue that also came up in Azimio and made PA, and even the Alfred Mutua-led party say that they are being handed the short end of the stick. And when it comes to campaigns, they say they are equal members and equal members of the herd. That is the headline in the Star. But something else that is connected to what we are talking about when we say about the finance bill: fuel subsidy tops Treasury, 64 billion extra budget appeal to MPs. The National Treasury has asked for 64 billion to stabilize fuel prices. This is after the international market also went up a day or two ago. Now Treasury is seeking additional funds to ensure that the fuel prices do not go up and increase the budget to Kenyans. And still on matters politics, cash fight disrupts Kenya Kwanza. There are concerns that UDA, Ford Kenya and ANC are receiving preferential treatment. That is something that has come up as well in the Azimio la Umoja. Raila and Mudavadi in a do-or-die combat for Western votes. Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga is leading the Azimio la Umoja Kenya Kwanza campaigns to the Western region for 5 days. Yesterday was the first day. They were in Vihiga, is something that we also carried in the news. Of course, dangling some political goodies when talking about a university, a Kenya medical training college, among others, if and only if he is elected president of this republic. Well, there have been political polls that have shown that the Kenya Kwanza and the Azimio la Umoja presidential candidates are neck to neck when it comes to the opinion polls. All right, MP Baraza quizzed over branding state vehicle with UDA colors. This is a story that emerged on Monday after a CDF vehicle actually was branded with UDA colors and logos for both the Kimilili MP and also the Deputy President. But that vehicle is supposed to be a government vehicle, registration number GK948J, but was replaced by the MP with a fake number plate, KBS 709. He was quizzed for over 2 hours yesterday, and it has been revealed that the new number plate, or the fake one, is from his brother's vehicle, where the MP is expected to be charged with misusing public resources, but that is yet to come to fruition. But also still on matters accountability and governance, 6 Kenyatta national employees were charged with stealing cancer drugs worth almost 9 million shillings yesterday. They are attached at the Kenyatta Prime Care Center pharmacies, and they are suspected to have conspired to steal the cancer drugs between last month and this month. They were released on a bond of 1 million shillings with a cash bail of 500,000 shillings. And the case is expected to be mentioned in June of this year. There is an interesting read that, of course, we have touched on it in our news. Pharmacists now link drink spiking to brain damage. If you have ever been a victim of a spiked drink using drugs commonly known as mchele, you are at risk of brain damage. There have been several exposés, and also you do remember the man that was shot dead at Mirema in Kasarani on Monday last week. He had been suspected of leading a cartel that was spiking drinks and stealing ATM cards, but that is something that needs to be checked, and especially by our medical institutions, because if it has adverse effects on the brain, then we are having a big fight in our hands. That's the Star. Let's now cross over to the Standard. Ruto's radical land plan jolts Raila camp. DP Ruto has unveiled the grand plan. This is something that we also carried in our news, to buy off large swaths of land of idle and idle parcels for benefits of the landless if he is elected president. Kenya Kwanza is in Mombasa. At least yesterday they were in Mombasa, as Azimio are in the western region. Something else that came up yesterday is that Kalonzo keeps his presidential hopes alive. Wiper leader was among 20 presidential hopefuls or aspirants who beat the deadline to submit signatures and other election eligibility documents to IEBC, but also IBC, because the process was a little bit tedious yesterday. They said they were going to increase it to an additional 2 days to ensure that all candidates are captured. We have 44, but IEBC after this process will tell us how much they will spend and how many will be left for the ballot. We are expecting the longest presidential ballot paper this year general election. But something that came up yesterday is that contestants now have until June 6 to present their papers to the electoral agencies, and the number of aspirants have been whistled down by half. And I believe it's because of they are supposed to deliver to the commission a list bearing the names, respective signatures, identity card or passport numbers of at least 2,000 voters registered in each of a majority of the counties, around 48,000. Well, that's a tall order for some people, but some parties have already been able to actualize that. Of course, you can peruse a lot is been talked about when it comes to the balancing act in the budget of 2022, bearing in mind and factoring in that we have a general election in slightly over 2 months to come. Well, that's all we have, and perhaps we can look at the nation and the people.
Right, and 16 presidential aspirants beat IEBC deadline. You've obviously had that story on the Standard. It also made its way on the PD this morning. And what is coming out is that more than 30 hopefuls were unable to fulfill the requirements, which included obviously the 48,000 signatures. This figure is just because of the 2,000 signatures that this candidate was supposed to produce in each of the 24 respective counties. So that is how the 48,000 signatures come about. And even as this 30 hopefuls were unable to fulfill, this also comes after 11 other aspirants on Monday were dropped down because, again, of also failure to fulfill some of the requirements, including the naming of a running mate in due time. But also this article highlights just some of the concerns that a good number of these presidential aspirants had, particularly in the independent presidential aspirants. And just as you mentioned there, Troy Kalonzo also has made his way to be able to meet the deadline that is as of yesterday. So this just means that he is among the other leaders who now await verification by the IEBC. And I mean, it's really quite interesting given the fact that right now as it stands, talks are actually on the formative stages, whereby Kalonzo is set to go back to the fold. That is the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya Alliance coalition. So what then does it mean, given the fact that he is almost again towards the last stages of being cleared to run for presidency, and at the same time still perhaps going back to the Azimio fold. So even as this is happening, the Makueni governor, that is Kivutha Kibwana, now demands to be involved in these negotiations as the Ukambani, as the Kamba leaders, saying that they were just among those leaders that were there from the beginning. So it's only respectful and important for them to also be included in these talks that are happening in terms of bringing Kalonzo Musyoka back to the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya Alliance coalition. And also with just 74 days to the polls, now the Azimio leader promises Western region a range of goodies if he wins. This is this is actually as he was in Vihiga County, and also as he was responding to Vihiga Senator George Haniri and Haniri's zoning concerns. Remember, there were this kind of conversation in respect to zoning in some parts of the areas by the Azimio La Umoja coalition. So this, even as he was responding to that, also coming at a time whereby there has been concern, particularly in the Kenya Kwanza coalition, and this is particularly from the Mwangi Kiunjuri party, that is the TSP, where they have been complaining of being sidelined as the smaller parties. So this is also just part of what Azimio La Umoja was trying to assure some of the parties and some of the leaders who are in this fold. And also that is continuing. Obviously, again, these leaders are just out there trying to continue to popularize their bid, and Ruto was at the coast. So he anchors the coast tour on graft war as Gachagua woos Rift Valley. Again, obviously talking about issues to end corruption if at all they get elected to office on August 9th. So even as that all is happening, the mini budget was tabled yesterday to the National Assembly, and it just shows that so far 24 billion has been spent on emergencies. This include the fuel and fertilizer subsidies, and also what is coming out is that the funeral budget, the funeral of the late President Kibaki cost taxpayers 260 million, which was part of the 24 billion that had been set aside for emergency fund. And also the government mills new strategies to spur COVID-19 vaccine uptake. Remember that the state had also just done away with some of the COVID-19 measures. So part of what the ministry is saying, even as they try to target 19 million adults and 2.9 million teenagers by end of June in terms of vaccination, they're trying to look for ways in which at least they can change Kenya's attitudes towards the take of the vaccine. And also we obviously have that particular story concerning the Kenya National Hospital staff who have been charged with theft of cancer drugs, and now they have released on bond. And lastly, there's this story that I just want us to touch on just a bit. That is the failure of the Green Park terminus. This was actually supposed to happen on Tuesday, and tomorrow we're supposed to be having the opening of areas of Langata Road. But on Wednesday, that was yesterday, the NMS came out to say that this is not going to happen. They really didn't quite give a reason on their part. What came out is basically what the Matatu Association had been complaining about, as well as also what a section of Kenyans had been complaining in respect to this Green Park bus terminus, key among them being where they're going to key among them being where they're going to just be standing by as they drop off and peak passages. And also one of the concerns from the passengers was the fact that the distance is really quite long between the terminus and the CBD. So this is some of the things that the NMS was trying to look into. But again, the concerns that are coming out is that why is this launch taking so long? This is just after 20 months in which this entire process has taken, and also after 3 test drives that were done last year. Mike.
Yes, and very quickly, the Daily Nation, the front page of the Daily Nation, the main headline is Decision 2022, uproar over CJ's polls gag order. Uproar over CJ's polls gag order. Lawyers condemning Chief Justice Martha Koome's decision to gag advocates and litigants from making comments on any presidential election petition. While it's still being heard, with the Law Society of Kenya describing the decision as drastic, unjustifiable, and ambiguous. The lawyers are lobbying. They're saying the lawyers' lobby has threatened to sue the CJ if she fails to rescind the plan to criminalize the comments. Still on the front page of the Daily Nation, focus on Nyandarua. Battle by Kiari Ndegwa, Waithaka and Kirika to oust incumbent Kimemia concentrates on the populous Kinangop area. Matters politics. Deputy President William Ruto of Kenya Kwanza Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga and their Wiper counterpart Kalonzo Musyoka were yesterday among the least at least 16 aspirants who met the deadline by the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission to submit their supporters' endorsement signatures. The clearance is set for between May 29th and June 6th. Still on the front page of the Star, it's matters of about cost of living. Nairobi's poor bear the brunt of high cost of living. More on that. The cost of living has increased fastest for the Nairobi's low-income earners. Just a quick look at the statistics. 71% of people in Nairobi are low-income earners, with 46,355 shillings being the amount of money that they spend on a monthly basis, and the high-income earners spending 184,300 395 shillings. Data from the Central Bank of Kenya shows that while the cost of living rose by 5.9% for Nairobi's low-income earners, it only rose by 3.77% for upper-income earners, 4.05% for middle-income earners. Last but not least, on the front page of the Star, Kibaki funeral cost 260 million shillings. The state burial for former President Mwai Kibaki cost the country 260 million shillings. The expenditure on the country's third president burial is contained in the national government supplementary estimates for the 2021-2023 financial year, tabled in the National Assembly by National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani. The estimates, however, have not unbundled the expenditure to show the money as allocated. That was the front page of the Daily Nation. We'll be back after this.